Welcome back to another episode of the Playbook here on the Boise Beat. As always, I got my main man Pops with me.
Hey, son.
Hey Pops, so a lot of craziness around the NFL this last week. Had some upsets. I don't know if anybody saw Lions going out as early as they did, but I think it's only right to start off with talking about Jaden Daniels and the Commanders.
What a player, huh? What a stud that Jaden Daniels
hmm
is. What makes him so good is he can pass and move and
hmm
run for first downs. He's just making people miss, and he's running for first downs. He's running a lot, and people haven't been able to keep him in the pocket, get
Yeah,
him down.
yeah, and what makes him so special is, I mean, people have always tried to hit Lamar with the label that, you know, his style, he runs too much, he's not a great enough pocket passer. And
Yeah,
Jaden Daniels, as much as he runs, he is, and Lamar Jackson is too, but Jaden Daniels has shown like he's a passer first.
yeah.
Like he has been phenomenal this year. I think back to like his coming out party, I feel like was the Bengals game, I believe is a Monday night game earlier in the year where he had to drive him down the field in a shootout with Joe Burrow and beat them. And I mean, coming into this season, I didn't know what he'd be because he has a smaller frame. A lot of people question whether he'd last in the NFL. He's going to take some hits, but nobody can tackle him. And so he's been doing pretty great.
Well, earlier this year, he did get hit pretty hard, messed up some ribs, but he played through it. He ended
hmm
up playing through it. But you could tell he got hurt. He was hurt.
hmm
Well, he's a tough kid. They
Yeah,
said
and
after this class he'd be the number one pick. I
yeah,
can see why.
yeah, and I mean, I think in about 5 years it'd be easier to tell
Yeah.
looking back because I mean, we still got a chance to look at Caleb with the news we got about their coaching update, but we'll get to that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
a few things I wanted to mention about Jaden Daniels, though. One of the coolest things I've seen that's come up recently is people are talking again about how he was ahead of the curve with VR training in college. So I'm not sure if you're aware, Pops, what the VR training is,
Uh,
but it's like visual reality. You know those
uh, yeah, those
goggle
glasses.
things. Yeah, and so it'll be like a simulation of NFL defenses based off concepts that they run against him and stuff that he'd be seeing the next week.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and they he runs it at 1.75 times the speed. So by the time he gets out there, everything looks slower to him. And this was a big thing coming out of college because he did it a lot where he was at and whatnot. And so he made VR training a condition for any team drafting him. And not a lot of teams would do it. Dan Quinn was up for it for sure, you know. Well, I'm sure teams would have. I think it's going to be implemented more and more in the NFL, but he
I
made
can,
it mandatory if you draft him, he has to be allowed to do the VR training.
yeah, that's ahead of the curve, all right.
Yeah, and I mean, with the success he's had, it's only
So
going to happen more in the NFL.
yeah, I bet. I can see
I've
how.
heard, yeah, I've heard of them doing it a little bit in the NFL. I don't know if all teams do it or how much they do it, but I mean, it's shown to be pretty effective. Before VR, it said he never topped 3,000 passing yards. This is in college, and his career high was 17 touchdowns. He was a mid-round draft prospect. After VR, nearly 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, Heisman Trophy, number 2 overall pick, and now Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, we were hoping he's going to fall to the Rams the next year he came out, but oh no, this kid just he got good so fast, so fast. It's just
Yep.
like it's amazing. So
Yeah.
now we know his secret, huh?
Yeah. And I think the coolest thing about this Commanders team is I know me personally, I just kept waiting for him to hit that rookie wall that everyone
Yeah.
does, where it's like, okay, you look great until teams figure you out in the NFL. And he just kept going. And he just kept going. And this whole
Yeah.
Commanders team, really, I mean, look at preseason when we saw the pickups they made, Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, Bobby Wagner, all these guys that are a bit older. And then Dan Quinn hired as head coach with Kingsbury at offensive coordinator. At the start of this year, everyone thought, wow, this is they're getting all these old guys, and then this isn't looking so well. It looks like some overall bad decisions, and here we are in conference championship.
And Dan Quinn, give him his roses. He's done a
Oh
great
yeah,
job with Washington this year.
it's awesome to see him have that success after losing his job in Atlanta, going to Dallas for a few years, and just completely turning this franchise around.
Yeah, people forget he did go to the Super Bowl with the
Hmm.
Falcons that year when Brady made that great comeback. But it
Hmm.
wasn't his fault, really. It was the offensive coordinator that kind of gave that game away. But
Kyle Shanahan.
hey, you're the head coach. You take the loss just like everybody else.
Hmm. But I mean, when he's had great offense coordinators, and I'm sure it helps him so he can focus on the defense. He's a defensive guy. I mean, he's had some really good teams. I mean, Kingsbury, it's also helped his chances of getting another head coaching job now with the job he's done here.
I'm surprised he hasn't got one yet this year in the offers this year.
Yeah, that is a little odd, huh? Now that you mention it. I mean, another one next year, probably guaranteed head coaching job.
Probably.
But yeah, just some interesting facts about those guys, and this season kind of unprecedented by them. And so just recapping the games, I mean, the Lions, what'd you think of them, Pops? All these expectations, supposed greatest Lions
Yeah,
team ever.
they beat themselves, in the playoffs. It doesn't matter yardage or anything. It matters, yardage or first downs. The main thing about the playoffs, especially, is the turnovers and sacks. And
Hmm.
Detroit turned the ball over. Goff turned it over 4 times just by himself.
Yep.
So yeah, he was under pressure and he didn't do well. When
No.
you get 4 turnovers, it's tough to win.
Yeah.
That's the times.
And yeah,
That's what
absolutely. And
they do.
we talked about this last year though when the Packers upset the Cowboys. The story was no one had the Packers, but what they did is they came out and punched them in the mouth.
Yeah,
And all the momentum was gone after that. If you could stop them and get a score, get a big lead early, you can take down these juggernauts because they'll start to beat themselves. They're not used to
yeah.
losing like that, especially at the start of the game. And so that's what they did. And they just stayed on top, and Lions couldn't get it together after having a historical season for their franchise.
I know it's crazy because they were the pick to go play the Chiefs this year.
Yeah.
Everybody thought for sure they were at least going to the NFC Championship, and they didn't make it. And yeah, I think we're hoping to see Lions Rams, Goff Stafford again, but no, the league had something different in mind. That
Yep.
threw
I think
everybody a
yeah,
curveball.
I think people you're either on one side or the other, and as an
Yeah,
NFL fan, you either wanted Commanders Eagles or Rams Lions. And I mean, we got the Rams Lions narrative last year, but it is cool to see a team like Jaden Daniels have a chance to go into Philly and make a
yeah.
Cinderella run. We don't get to see that often in the NFL.
He if he wins the Super Bowl, he'd be the first rookie to ever do it. In fact, he might be the first rookie to even play in the Super Bowl. Maybe Purdy. Did
Mm,
Purdy get there his rookie year?
no, it was his second or third year, I believe.
Uh, yeah.
I don't know. Did Roethlisberger get one in '03?
No, it was his second one. His second
Really?
year when he got it. Yeah, I think he
Put
might
him
be
in
the
some elite
first rookie
company.
quarterback to even go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what this can do for this guy's career and
Oh
create
yeah,
another
a lot in
big time
college.
contender. And especially with all the talk on the AFC and all the young quarterbacks over there, it really make the NFC more interesting for the upcoming years. But I mean, the Lions, you gotta ask about all that they've done this year and their window that they've had. This kind of seemed like the peak year. If they were going to make the Super Bowl, it was going to be this year. They had their whole coaching staff who was almost poached the last few years.
Yeah, and they
And
stayed for one more run.
yep.
Now they
And
leave. So
and people are wondering, like Belichick even mentioned, he was saying team, and I agree with this. Teams should not be allowed to interview other head coaches while the playoffs are going on,
yeah,
because it brought up a lot of questions of people like, how focused were these guys on this game to coach when they have a whole career, their whole future. Because think about it. I mean, they could wait. Yeah, you would think you'd want to focus on this game at hand. It's a very important game. But when the future of your career is in the hands of another team, and the longer you wait, the better chance that they'll sign somebody else for the job you want. It begs the question, like how focused were you? A lot of Lions fans had a lot of conspiracies, but I mean, what do
Well,
you think about that?
the Lions, they had a bye, and that's when their coaches got taken, got talked to. They had their interviews.
Hmm.
So, and the Chiefs didn't have anybody up for coaching. But yeah, I think Detroit, I think that's just an excuse. They try to use it because they all got interviewed on the bye week. But some of these teams, yeah, I could see it. But that's part of the rules that they can talk to you.
Yeah,
But
obviously,
that's on an off day, though.
yeah, and obviously they have to get permission from the Lions, but
Yeah.
nobody's gonna turn that down because you're not gonna be that guy to
Now they
take
lost their
opportunities
offense.
away.
Yeah, they lost their offense coordinator and their defensive coordinator.
Hmm.
Aaron Glenn went to the Jets, which I wish they'd have got an offensive coach, but they got a defensive coach, Aaron Glenn, and then the Bears made out with
Hmm.
Johnson.
Yeah,
Let's
we'll
see
get
what
to
he
that.
can do with. Let's see what he can do with Caleb Williams. I think maybe a
Yeah,
couple offensive linemen would help.
yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that because I wanna recap that all, but I want to talk about one last thing with the Lions though, because it makes you wonder how dangerous is this team going to be moving forward without the same offensive coordinator? Because obviously Dan Campbell's a great coach, a great motivator, but how, depending on who they get to replace Johnson, how are they going to fare with Dan Campbell now having to be more schematically involved?
Well, I
Unless
think
they get
just
a great one, but
Rams used to do. They used to poach the Rams uh, offense coordinators, and I think for the Lions, I believe that they've got some guys ready to step up. I really do. They've been with them. All the coaches have been together for the last 3 years or so. I'm sure they got a offensive assistant getting ready to step up and a defensive assistant. I think they'll be fine.
yeah, and not enough teams do that where you don't have to change the system up too much for quarterbacks to learn a whole
Yep.
new system. I believe
Yep.
that's what the Bengals did when they lost I'm losing the name of the coordinator, the Callahan, and they replaced him with I want to say
The Bucks,
Dan pitcher.
Callahan, and they replaced him with Liam Cohen, wasn't it? Wasn't Callahan with the
No,
Bucks?
no, Callahan was the Bengals coach that went to go head coach the Titans. Yeah,
Hmm.
Cohen's been there the last 2 years, I believe. But um, all right, so moving to the other side though, the number one seed Chiefs, obviously no distractions with head coach interviews, and they got the job done.
Yeah, a lot of people lost money on that one.
Yeah,
A line of 8.5, and they missed. They won by 9, so they missed a field goal. Got a field goal blocked. They missed an extra point. I mean, there's a lot of people crying after that game. I'm
including
not going to
myself.
say, yeah. So they should have covered at least,
You don't got to say it. I'll say it. I was
but
pretty mad after that one.
yeah, I wasn't happy either. Cost both of us
Yeah,
some good
that
money.
it was the garbage time points. Just needed a field goal, and they blocked it, of course. And the
Yeah.
conspiracies with the Chiefs live on.
It's not one thing, it's another with them Chiefs, man. And
Literally.
if you're not gonna say it, I will. Mahomes just gets every call in the book, man. He flails around, somebody hits him, he flails around, gets up, starts waving his arms. Here comes the flag. You know, he just never fails. When they need a penalty, they get a penalty, man.
Yeah.
And
Also,
that
I believe I have a stat for that as well.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Penalties by a playoff game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And the last time Kansas City had more penalties than their opponent in a playoff game was the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay.
in Brady.
Yep. So that's 11 straight playoff games where the opponents have had more penalties than them.
Yeah, I'd like to see it broke down even further to see how many that Mahomes got. I mean, every time he slides late, guys jump over him, dive over him, and it doesn't matter. You're going to get that call. The big
Yep.
guys like Allen and Jackson and Stafford, they don't get those calls. I think I watched all the Rams games this year. I think Stafford got one call on roughing the passer all year. That's crazy. Mahomes gets at least one every game.
And there is a stat that he has the most interceptions thrown but called back by penalties by far since like 2019, 2020. And I think he has the same amount that Brady had his whole career already.
Oh yeah,
But
I don't know.
I digress. I mean, they
That's
just keep winning.
I don't know.
And
They get a lot of help because they haven't been that good this year, but
they
they get the calls. And
well, they do that,
next game,
but they also make a lot of really good decisions down the stretch. I
too.
mean, that's what elite head coaching will do, and good quarterback play. They don't have the talent.
Yeah, you don't give Mahomes the ball with less than 2 minutes or less. You don't
Nope.
give it to him. If you're behind six, do not give it to him. That's how the Bills beat him earlier. They went for it on fourth down because they're only up six or
Yep.
something like that, and they went for it, got a touchdown because they weren't going to take no chance giving it back to him down less than a touchdown, up less than a
Yep.
touchdown.
And another stat I heard was since 2001, quarterbacks with the last drive to take the lead in playoff games, the average percentage, like the good percentage, was about 40%. So Brady had about like 46%. Uh, he's like 5 for 11 in games like that to win it. Breeze was 3 for 6, and Mahomes is number one. He's seven
Yep,
for seven in his career in a playoff game where he has the ball last to drive and win the game.
yep, with the score under 7 points,
Yep.
7 points or under.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That says a lot. I mean, not you want to talk about clutch gene. As much as we talk about Mahomes and whatnot, and how he does get a lot of the calls and a lot of the talk, we forget how like it's easy to when you see it all the time now. Because I mean, everyone is blown away when Mahomes came onto the scene. But when you really sit and think about it, like this guy, he just does it every time. If the
yeah,
ball's in his hands, he finds a way.
yep. Him
And
and his tight end seem to always find each other.
yep,
And I remember a game this year when they were playing the Bucks, and uh, and the Bucks quarterback, what's his name,
Baker.
Baker Mayfield, and they tied it up at the end of regulation, and they went out for the coin toss, and Baker lost it. The Chiefs got it. He's like throws his hands up like that's it, that's the game right there.
Yep,
And sure enough, it was, man. He knew it. As
yep,
soon as Chiefs got the ball first, they're going to go score a touchdown, and that's exactly what they did.
yeah. And I mean, and that's always like you want to talk about who has the ball last. Obviously, that matchup with Josh Allen is what got that rule change for the playoffs.
Yeah,
So, because of the we won the coin toss, game was over.
yep,
But now these guys are playing again, and every single
again,
time they play, I mean,
yep,
Josh Allen is 3-1 against him in the regular season, but 0-3 against Mahomes in the playoffs.
yep,
But something's got to give. I mean, this guy is so close every time. There's no one that plays Mahomes better but hasn't beat him yet. And it's just always comes down to Mahomes having the ball last. I mean, when is it going to give? Josh Allen has done so much in those games where his defense gives it all up. Like Josh Allen has had the craziest games. And who knows if one or two of those plays go differently, how we're talking about these two quarterbacks, like one or the other. You know what I mean?
This
Being
play
the
goes
best.
goes different.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
because it's been that close.
yep.
They're always less than one score. They're one score
Yep.
games every time.
And so the narrative on Josh Allen is, oh, he hasn't won the big one. So he's not like counted yet, like Mahomes is talked about in the GOAT conversation and whatnot. But I mean, how different would this narrative be if one or two plays have gone different in these matchups and Josh Allen has a Super Bowl or two to his name? Like, just think about that, because it really is a few plays away. And Josh Allen is one of the very best. And
Yeah.
he has a way less talented team and coach, and he's still carrying these guys. They just beat the Ravens, who
I
were
know.
a really, really good overall team. Great coach.
Or
Everything down the line.
you might say the Ravens beat the Ravens. Really.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had all the turnovers. Again, turnovers. Four
Hmm.
turnovers. And then the missed catch in the end zone, but you can't blame the game on that. I mean, it was the turnover battle. They don't
Yep.
lose the turnover battle, they win that game. And we're talking
Yep.
about Lamar Jackson being the championship game.
Yep. And
Just can't have turnovers.
it's just crazy to me though, because it's like that's a complete team. Probably the most complete team I would say in the playoffs, the Ravens. And
Yeah,
the Bills are literally this year, no one had them even making the playoffs. They won their division. It's literally just Josh Allen.
I know the Ravens. Uh, the quarterback Lamar Jackson threw for over 4,000 yards, and then him and Derrick Henry together ran for over 3,000. Is that crazy or what? And they're still
Yep.
not in the NFC Championship.
Yep. With a
I don't
great
know what
coach.
more you can do. And then
Yeah.
Zay Flowers got hurt. That was their
Oh yeah,
big weapon,
that was a
but
big one.
that was a
Yeah.
big one.
He got hurt in their week 18 game, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yep. That's what sucks. Is it's like you're doing it kind of for seeding and whatnot. And it's like, do you really need to play your guys and risk it?
exactly.
And then you lose a guy like that. That's huge. And because you'd think he'd be out for a week, but he ends up being out for two. And you don't get two wins, you're gone. And oh man, you kind of feel for guys like that too, because it was a close game and it could have gone either way.
Yeah,
But it's like literally, I mean, I've talked about it a million times, but how the Bills have changed their offense. And so Josh Allen doesn't have to do as much, I'd say, like going deep and whatnot. They're now tight ends, run the ball more. But at the same time, he's kind of become like Superman. He puts on his cape because when he needs to, though, when he needs to roll out and make a big play or run
yeah.
for a big first down, nothing's working, and run for 20 yards, he'll do it. But now he
And
like kind of picks his spots. He doesn't force nothing no more, and that's what makes him so dangerous.
yeah, when he plays Mahomes Superman, he turns into Clark Kent at the end.
I
Now,
wouldn't even say
you
that
can't really
yet.
say that because Josh
Yeah,
Allen's been with him stride for
yeah,
stride every game.
he
Just it
has
seems like Mahomes gets that ball last every
every time.
time.
Yep,
Oh man, I feel for him.
yep,
First time the Bills win, Josh Allen wins. He's a hero in Buffalo. They've never won a Super Bowl. They've been to
yep.
four of them, haven't won a
Oh,
one.
he'll
Four
probably be the mayor
consecutive.
over there.
Oh yeah,
Like
they need
he'll be
this.
no matter what, he'll be a legend. And I think they have the best fan base in the NFL. And it's like,
Bills Mafia.
yeah, I don't even think it's close. Especially like what they always do. They're always known for like getting together and like donating to the opposing team's charities. Like when people get hurt in games and stuff, they'll be donating a bunch of money to other teams' charities. Like for Mark Andrews, who dropped that big pass to lose the game, they got together and donated a crazy amount of money together to his charity. Like a very classy move, you know,
I'm a wide receiver.
to Mark Andrews.
Oh,
I
it's a
see what you
pair of
mean.
hands. Yeah. No, he's one of the best tight ends. He is one of the best tight ends. And now you can't put that loss on him, man. Nobody
Yeah,
felt worse. He
yeah,
didn't get interviewed after the game, but he went on, he told his story on on Instagram and put it out there what really happened, how bad he felt. You got to feel for the guy, man.
Hmm.
Hopefully he's not getting any death threats from the idiots.
Yeah,
But
and
who
that
knows?
sucks.
I
But
mean, he's been their top tight end, him and Kelsey, the last couple years, really.
yeah, and
The two T.
Andrews when Andrews is healthy, he's one of the top guys, and so yeah, for him to have such a great second half of the season, really last 3 quarters of the season,
Yeah, 'cause he
he's
was
been
hurt earlier.
phenomenal. Yeah, and he was dropping he didn't have a touchdown pass for a while. He was dropping passes, and then he just turned it on. But yeah, very unfortunate, but a very classy move by the Bills Mafia to donate a bunch of money to his charity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And then last year, the Bills had home field, and they were all cocky and thought they were going to win it. That's what they needed, and they still lost. So now they're going to go into Kansas City, and
yeah,
I don't think the Bills Mafia is getting many tickets in that place. I seen the last game they played against Texas. There was nothing but red in that whole stadium. That whole stadium was lit up in red. So that's a team that really represents that fan base really represents that team.
well,
I can
winning
only
Super Bowls will do that.
I can only hope myself. I'm not talking for anybody else. I would love to see Kansas City knocked out. I'm tired of
Yeah,
seeing it, and it's time for them to go.
I
I think it's
think,
time for Buffalo to do something.
yeah, I think a lot of people are there siding with you.
I think
But
most, if you're not a Kansas City fan, you're going for Buffalo. I guarantee
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Not
but
very
this
many
is
people are on the fence one way or the other. It's
yeah,
all against the Chiefs, pretty much.
yeah, and I mean
That's
even
gonna,
Bills fans though.
I'll tell you what, that's going to be the best game tomorrow, maybe.
Oh yeah, it always is when those two play. But I mean, this is like a Bills fan's nightmare still. Like they knew they were going to play him.
I
Like
know, man.
I have friends that are Bills fans. I'm like, you know, you're going to play him. It's like, but they're like still kind of like anxious. Like no, like they don't want to jinx it. But it's like, if any year's got to be the year, I feel like this has got to be it. But I've said that the last 2 or 3 times they played in the playoffs. So I don't.
You and
What do I
everybody
know?
else, son.
You know. But the last game we haven't talked about the divisional game, the Rams Eagles, as the Eagles advanced behind Saquon running all over that Rams defense again.
Actually, he didn't really run all over it. He had two
Two big
carries,
ones.
the
Two
two
big
big
ones.
ones. The rest of the time, he was held to 2.7 yards a carry on all the other ones. That shows you they saw something. Like on that last run, you've seen Jalen Hurts turn to him and said something to him, and he
The
looked that
audible,
way
yeah.
a little bit and nodded. The Rams defense was set up for it perfectly. They were in dime instead of being because it was 3rd and 4. They're ready for a pass, and they switched it up, and so they had a lot of little guys in there. And they just
Hmm.
whatever anybody that was even close just bounced right off him.
Yeah. No, none of those corners were going to tackle that guy.
We thought that was the game, but give the Rams credit. They came back. There's
Yeah.
like 3.5 minutes left, came back. They had all 3 timeouts. Luckily, you don't see that very often. The Rams have three
Yeah.
timeouts at the end of the second half.
Yeah. Usually
But
McVay's wasting them all.
oh yeah, but they came back. They got that touchdown quick, really quick. Call those timeouts. They got the ball left was it just under 2 minutes or something like that, or just over
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
And they went all the way down, but somehow, well, one of our best guards, Kevin Dotson, jumped. So we had a 3rd and 2, didn't we? Second and
Yeah.
two, 2nd and 3, something like that. He jumped, so now we're back 8 yards. And now they get mixed up on their coverage on the line, and they let Jalen Carter get through for a free sack. Didn't even touch him. They showed a replay of it, and Limmer, the center, was looking one way. Dotson was looking the other way. Neither one of them picked anybody up, and he
Yep.
just went right through that hole like nothing. How can that happen to a team as good as the Rams have played? And their offensive line has been pretty decent. Just let him have a free run. So he sacked him, but they had one last chance on fourth down, and they let him get through again. And
Yeah, but Stafford missed that
actually,
throw.
yeah, but they actually had Higley wide open in the middle of the end zone, running free, but he didn't have time to look.
Yeah,
So,
well, the play was designed to go to Puka no matter what. There was one read. Yeah, that's who he was going to from the jump. And either way, yeah, he took a hit, but he missed that throw to Puka. He sailed it. I know he was hurt. I think the injury has more than anything to do with it than the pressure that was coming in. But he
um,
completely missed a throw, which is really weird because he was on fire that whole drive getting them down there. They were
and
within 6, so a touchdown and an extra point wins the game. And you go from
what
being
we've
third
been
and
talking
2.
about, yeah, what we've been talking about in the playoffs, turnovers. Rams had three of them.
Yep.
They had three.
Yeah.
Stafford fumbled one. Kyron Williams fumbled another. Another one, Stafford was supposed to stick in his gut at the last second, tossed it to him, and that was the other one. But turnovers,
And, and
even though
then,
the Rams had 7 sacks, turnovers and big plays ended that one.
yep.
It's two
And,
backs. I really thought the Rams had a chance to go to Super Bowl, but
well, not playing like that. That's for dang
well,
sure.
team. Their defense is young. I can't wait to see that defense. They
Yeah,
had
but
16 sacks in two games in the playoffs, man.
well, which is
Their
a record
defense
going into the divisional
is
round.
young. They're really
Yeah,
young, and
but
I can.
the thing is, they had a 6. That's a record going into the divisional round. Yes, but their offense. I mean, you got an aging quarterback. Now you got questions on whether the timelines fit with the offense and the defense. They got a lot of questions. They're close but far, and that's what's. It's kind of they're in no man's land,
Yeah,
which is really tough decisions coming in this offseason.
like are they going to keep Cup for 28.7 million? I don't know how you can do that. I love Cooper Cup. He he's what football's all about. Professional athletes all about. Team player, team captain. Everybody looks up to him. But he said he's playing, and so now
I
it's
don't
up
think
to
it'll
the
be in
Rams to
LA,
see if they can.
unfortunately.
Yep, if they can restructure his contract or something. And Stafford already pretty much said he was coming back. He's like, well, I thought I was playing pretty good ball towards the end. He says, don't you? He, so I'm pretty sure Stafford. And again, it comes down to contract. After he's not signed for the next year yet. But Cup
Yeah,
is
and
signed. You just don't know if they want to pay him that much money, though.
yeah, a lot of questions for them.
I know.
But let's talk more about the Eagles, who won the game and are advancing to play the Commanders.
I'll tell you what, if they stop Barkley, Washington stops Barkley, doesn't give him any big plays, they'll win that game. I guarantee it.
Well, yeah, but they got some injuries on the defensive line. And I mean, it does sound a lot easier said than done, but I mean, Jalen Hurts, I think the question is whether that guy's healthy or not. He's been he was hobbling a little bit in this game. I don't know if this injury is a reoccurring injury from the Packers game, but he came off a concussion, yeah, going into that Packers game, so he didn't look the same. Then gets hurt a little bit off the sack when the Rams got a safety this last game. And so it kind of comes down to how healthy is Hurts because he does not look good right now. Like they're lucky they got a lot of good talent on the line and at running back and receiver to kind of get them by. But without him at his best, they're not gonna win a Super Bowl, much less advance
The way he
past this
moves in the
round.
pocket and makes you pay when you rush him. Yeah, the Rams were all over him, man. 7 sacks. Everybody's like coming into the game. All the Rams don't have a chance to get to the quarterback. They got the best line in the league, and that line gave up 7 sacks to the Rams defensive line. So
Yeah, it also had a lot to do with Hurts being having limited mobility. So
didn't look limited when he went for 44 yards to start the game off.
yeah,
I
but that
think it
was
was the
before he
first.
had the
Yeah, it was the
injury.
first or second play of the game.
Yeah, that was before
Yeah,
he
he
got
didn't
hurt
look
from the
hurt at all
safety.
there.
Yeah, that was before he got hurt, obviously with the safety.
Yeah, he's
But
gonna be fine.
yeah, it's gonna make for an interesting matchup, though. I mean, they're divisional rivals, so obviously there's gonna be a good matchup there.
They split the series this year, 1-1. So,
Yeah, and
and the crazy part about that one win they got was they went all the way down the field. Washington did and scored to win the game.
yeah,
That's that's how
and
good Daniels has been. He's been good. Actually, they've won half of their games. They've won have been in the last drive. Been
yeah,
almost Mahomes-esque, you know.
yeah, and
Yes.
people forget though with that win, the Eagles had a big lead in that game until
Yep.
Hurts got Jalen Hurts got injured. Kenny Pickett came in to throw the game for him. Who don't even get me started on Kenny Pickett? What I think about that guy.
You know you
But I
like
knew
him.
it was. I don't care how big of a lead the Eagles
That's a
had. Once I
first
knew he
round
was
pick. What are you talking about?
uh, worst first round pick ever. Once I knew he came in, I don't care what the lead was. I knew the Commanders are going to win that game, and he literally threw that game for the Eagles. Like
No, he didn't.
they had a big lead.
He didn't throw an interception in that
He
game.
didn't get him any first
So so
downs.
so that so it was the defense that gave that game back.
They couldn't move the ball, so their defense was tired. Their offense
Yeah,
was
they
not
had
moving at all.
points. They end up having like 35 points, wasn't it? Something like that in the 30s. And you put that on the offense?
Yeah, because Sirianni kept throwing it. Sirianni didn't run the ball. And then after a while, the Commanders started to get stops. And so
Yeah.
that's why the Commanders got back into that game. The Eagles lost that game more than the Commanders won it.
Because the Eagles defense let him in there.
But this I will say though, this Commanders team is a lot different since then because of this playoff run. And obviously they're feeling themselves. They're very confident. They got veteran leadership. They got a lot of young guys. And so this they don't feel like the little brother as much anymore after this little run, I'm sure.
Yeah,
And
they're Austin Eckler injury away from being not as good. Eckler has been amazing for him at the running back. Not so much carrying the ball, but out of the backfield, he's
mhm,
been crazy. And then McLaren is their big time receiver.
yeah,
If you
the guy's
stop him,
phenomenal.
chance. Him and
Hmm.
Eckler, the two main ones.
Yeah, and Brian Robinson Jr.'s had, I think, the best year of his career this year.
Yeah.
And but yeah, Terry McLaurin, now that he's finally got a quarterback, he's had a phenomenal year, and it's going
And
to
then
be a fun matchup.
he had over 14 touchdowns, didn't he? Something like that, 14 or 15.
Yeah, he's had a crazy year, especially the second half of it. But
Yeah.
all right, let's start picking these games. Who do you got in this Commanders Eagles game?
I got Washington. I think Washington's going to win it. What's the line on it?
Let's see.
I think it's
ESPN
6.5, isn't it?
ESPN has the line at Eagles -6.
Yeah. I would, if I was betting, I would take the Commanders, but
Mhm.
maybe ESPN, the bookies know what they're talking about. I don't know.
They always seem to know.
Definitely, I'd take the Commanders with that line anyway, if not
Yeah,
straight up. I
that
wouldn't
kind of
mind
seems like
taking
a
straight up even.
that seems like a big line for a conference championship game,
Kidding.
especially the rival.
Yeah, if you're betting on that, you got to go Commanders.
Yeah,
I think the
+6.
Commanders might beat them straight up
Yeah,
even.
yeah, you got to take the points,
Yeah.
and especially not knowing the health of Jalen Hurts. If I could pick a winner, I'd probably stay with Eagles, but covering that 6 point spread, I think it's going to be a close game. So it's really a toss up. But Bills Chiefs, who do you think is going to the Super Bowl in New Orleans?
I'm staying with my man, Mahomes. No, I mean, Josh Allen. I want to see him do it. I really do. I want to see him do it.
Me too. The spread's 2.5 right now, Chiefs.
The Chiefs, huh? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they always give 3 for home. That's what they
Yeah.
used to say anyway, for home field.
Yeah.
So It's a toss up. It's basically a toss up. Whoever gets the ball last within a touchdown will win this game.
Yeah. And I just don't want to see the one matchup I do not want to see is Chiefs Eagles again. I mean, we already had that a few years ago.
Yeah, I
Just like
know.
the Chiefs Niners, we already saw that matchup in 2020, 2019. It's like, how many times are we going to get these same matchups with the Chiefs in it? It's like, you can't even root for either of these guys. Like, it's not a fun game to watch when you don't like either team.
If I was a fan of them, I'd still love them. But anybody else, you
Yeah,
got
it's
to
like
they're
as a
going for the Bills.
yeah, but I'm
I
saying
say,
if it was Chiefs
yeah,
Eagles,
yeah. I'd like to see Bills Commanders.
yeah, that'd be a fun matchup.
Not a lot of people want to see that though, but I would.
Yeah. Well, speaking
Well,
of
history be made one way or the other, you know. Rookie quarterback or the Bills getting their first Super Bowl. So you got a good storyline there.
yeah,
You ready to talk about some of these new hires?
yep.
Who else we got?
That's what I was about to get to. Let's get to let's talk about we spoke about the Lions. They lost their offense coordinator, Ben Johnson, as
Yeah.
he's now set to become the Bears' next head coach. Go ahead. I'll let you lead off with this one, Pops. Go ahead.
Well, I like the hire. I really like that hire of Ben Johnson. It's going to be great for Caleb Williams. And I think he'll work his offense to fit Caleb Williams because that's what he usually does. And, but as in all things, you know, if you're going to coach a rookie or a second year player that has that potential as Caleb Williams, you got to give him an offensive line. It's not fair, you know. Give him an
Yeah,
offensive line, maybe a high pick and then a free agent or something. You know, you got to give him a line, give him some protection. He was getting killed all year. I think he had the most, took the most sacks of anybody this year.
yeah, he did. Yeah, I think one of the best offensive minds in football right now, and going to a young quarterback like Caleb, who's got all the talent in the world. I think it's a match made in heaven. And I was talking
Oh,
about that mid-season. I was telling Bears fans that I have some friends that are Bears fans, and I was telling them that if Ben Johnson goes there, you won't have to be crying no more. You can be excited about football again because I think this is going to take the Bears to be as one of the best teams for years to come. The way we're talking about Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, the Bears will have a shot to be one of the best teams in football for a long time if all goes well here.
well, the Bear fans I've been talking to are like, we'll believe it when we see it.
Yeah,
It's
I've
just
heard a lot of
that
that too.
bad,
I've
you
heard a
know?
lot of that.
Yeah. And what else I got to say? You got to remember, Johnson gets a little too cute sometimes, though. Like that reverse throw downfield. Maybe cost him the game right there. That was a big
Yeah.
play in the game where that running back threw it into double coverage and it got picked. But he has some
Yep.
good play call. He does have some nice play calls you don't expect, but that was not one of his better ones. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if you could put it on him or the running back. If he's covered, you got to run the ball or throw it away or something. But he tried to put it in there. And it was a big turnover.
Yeah. Happened to be one of his worst play calling games of the season. Only the
Yeah.
biggest game of the season. But I think with the chance with a guy like Caleb, who's got a super high ceiling and all the potential in the world, this could be really special for years to come. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
No more
But
excuses.
yeah. But another big coaching hire. I know we were talking about Dan Quinn earlier, and we got a matchup of Dan Quinn coaching the Commanders against the Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, who was one
Mhm.
of a few guys that interviewed for the Dallas Cowboys head coaching position. One of the few, even though Jerry Jones swears they did all their research and interviewing as many guys as they could, apparently. And they
Yeah.
ended up settling for, as Cowboys fans predicted, because they knew it was going to be the worst decision. Cowboys fans predicted Brian Schottenheimer is now the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
How that happens, I will never know. He has not done. He has not been a good offensive coordinator wherever he's gone. He's been average, and I think Jerry Jones's reasoning was that they wanted continuity in the offense. That Dak was tired of learning a new offense, and he was their offensive coordinator, I believe.
Yeah.
So he wants the same offense again. So they're going to give him Marty Schottenheimer's son, Brian Schottenheimer. They're better off they got Marty, even though he passed away a while ago, but still, it might have been better.
Maybe, honestly, at this point. I mean,
I don't know.
Jerry,
Got to give him a chance now.
yeah, and
But
what I love,
America's team picked him like nobody else interviewed him. I don't think anybody else even wanted him.
no, nobody did.
And to Jerry, all of a sudden, like, yeah, we'll take him. And to let McCarthy go is the stupidest thing, fighting over a couple $1 million or another year or so. Now look what he's stuck with.
Well, I was on board for them firing McCarthy, but if you're gonna just hire Schottenheimer, then you should have just kept McCarthy. I
Yeah.
mean, he's better than him. But
Well,
I mean,
Dak loved him. Dak loved him. Your
yeah,
quarterback loves the coach. It helps. He loves the way he calls plays.
but what I'm saying here is though is the fact that they didn't go really and try to get anybody else. There was a lot of good head coaches available this offseason,
They
and
could have done
they
more.
didn't even take a shot at either. And he interviewed for it, but he didn't get it. And here's the thing too is Cowboys fans predicted is either going to be Kellen Moore or Schottenheimer, and they weren't going to be happy with either. And honestly, I don't blame them because what Jerry has done continuously every year is just kind of do what he wants. It's almost like he's doing it on purpose to not give the fans what they want, just because he wants to be right and everybody else to be wrong. I mean, that's literally how it started with Jerry Johnson,
Yeah.
is with Jimmy Johnson, sorry, when they
Yeah.
fired him, because Jerry Jones wanted all the credit there. He wanted everyone to say he was the reason. And they haven't gone back to the conference championship since he left, or they
Well,
might have gone 1 year.
well, they won the next year too with
Yeah, but
brought in his friend Barry Switzer, but it's basically the same
it
team
was Jimmy
Johnson
Johnson's
brought in.
team. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's the
I
same
love
team.
I love that guys because I think past Cowboys players have been like very much yes men about how Jerry's ran things, and I love that Troy Aikman has finally came out and he said some things. He's been honest about the Cowboys, like that they're lazy route runners. That this job. He said recently that this job isn't a highly coveted position anymore,
Yeah, that
and
got a lot of attention.
oh yeah, and he's right. I
Yeah.
mean, someone had to say it, and I'm glad
But
someone as respectable in
he
Cowboys
ended up with
history as him.
Brian Schottenheimer, and
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
the thing he's famous for is being Marty's son.
well, yeah. But the thing is like when someone like as respectable in Cowboys history as Aikman is coming out and saying that,
Oh yeah,
and you should probably know that you're doing some things wrong. But I
yeah.
mean, time will only tell what this can turn into. But right now, it's not looking good over there in Dallas. Cowboys fans are not happy.
Nope.
But another head coaching hire full of drama. I wanted to break this story down for you because I think there's been little bits and pieces that have come out. We're still waiting on more details, but this is what I had seen so far from a post. It said, so this is the situation, right? Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Jaguars, was fired. Okay.
Yep.
The GM, Trent Baalke, is retained. Okay. So he's still there. The Jags expressed initial interest in Ben Johnson and Liam Cohen, the offense coordinator of the Buccaneers, but neither are interested because of the GM, Trent Baalke. Okay. And in an interview, in a Zoom call like this, the owner of the Jaguars, Shad Khan, was getting interviewed. And who else was on the Zoom call? Their GM, Trent Baalke. And he explicitly said in the interview that, yeah, he wouldn't mind firing the GM if the next head coach came in and wanted him fired and wanted a different GM. He said he'd consider it. While the GM, the current GM, Trent Baalke, was on the same Zoom call.
Wow.
So how awkward is that, right? So
That
not
has
only
got to
that,
be,
yeah. And so the
yeah.
Buccaneers, they hear about Liam Cohen talking with the Jaguars, right? So the Buccaneers offer to make Liam Cohen one of the highest paid offensive coordinators, but prohibit him from taking another interview with the Jaguars. Okay. They're gonna pay him top dollar to keep him, but you can't interview again with the Jaguars. That's the deal. Cohen agrees to a deal to remain in Tampa Bay, and Robert Saleh becomes the new favorite as the Jaguars head coach, right? Then Shad Khan decides to fire Trent Baalke, the GM, and offers Cohen a bunch more money, like so just a big time contract. Cohen, Liam Cohen, then ghosts Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers before signing the contract after agreeing, but before officially signing the contract, unless he might have signed it. But I think he broke protocol and still took the call to go to Jacksonville for a second interview, violating the Buccaneers' condition. So I'm pretty sure he signed, yeah, broke protocol, still flew to Jacksonville to hear him out and get the position. By the time Todd Bowles, head coach of the Bucs, gets a hold of Liam Cohen at 5 p.m., who Liam Cohen says he's at the doctor office with his sick child,
Oh, shit.
but briefly mentions wanting to circle back with Jacksonville. After all that, Cohen is now at the Jaguars facility working to finalize an agreement to become the Jaguars' next head coach, and obviously was officially hired. But what a bunch of, and who knows what details are going to come out and what can come out of this. Obviously, Buck's probably pissed that he explicitly agreed to one condition in the contract.
Yeah.
That does not look good. And the Jaguars owner too, like
He doesn't care.
he don't.
He's got his
He
guy.
don't. Yep.
But think about it. How good is Cohen really? Yeah, he had a good year with
Mhm.
man's with
Mayfield.
yeah, and but I don't think he's not that good a coach. I don't. He's the only offense coordinator the Rams have ever fired. In fact, after the 5-12 season the Rams went through, McVay cleaned house on everyone, just about everyone.
Yeah.
He kept Morris, of course, kept a
Yeah.
few assistants, but that's the first time he's ever actually fired an offensive coordinator. He went back to Kentucky. I think he got some good experience with the Rams, though. But
Yeah.
he goes back to Kentucky, and then he comes to the Bucks with
With
Baker
Baker.
Mayfield.
Yep. Reconnected with Baker because Baker was in LA that one year that Cohen was
Had
there.
season of his career.
Yeah, and honestly, that Rams team too, it's hard to judge because their whole team was hurt. Like
Had so many
Stafford was hurt.
injuries that year.
Yeah, their O line was gone. Like there was nothing to work with on offense.
Yeah, yeah. But
But
McVay clean fired him and
yeah,
sent him back.
yeah. And so Liam Cohen, yeah, it
Well,
makes you wonder because it's like
if you go,
that's the thing with me that I don't understand because it's like he's had a few years as an offensive coordinator in the NFL, and it's kind of like, is he getting the a bit of a shot because people haven't seen him much? Like they're taking the potential thing, but it's like he's he's not really proven yet. I'd say there's other guys that have been doing better for longer. For him to be highly sought after like this, I think it's kind of crazy.
yeah. But if he can help him, if he can help the quarterback, bring him on. It's going to be
Well,
interesting.
that's the big
Doug,
question because
yeah,
if it don't work there, because that's Doug Peterson's guy. He's the one who vouched to get Lawrence the big extension and pay him top dollar.
yeah,
And with Peterson now gone, Lawrence has run out of guys that drafted him and supported him. He's running out of the people that have his back, and so and with less chances to prove himself, obviously he hasn't had great teams around him. I think we know that, but it's like when the results aren't there, if this Cohen thing doesn't work out, it makes you wonder, is Trevor Lawrence's time running out in Jacksonville? I think he might be one of the guys that's going to be traded, and I'm a Lawrence guy. A lot of people have jumped off
yeah.
the Lawrence train,
Hope he gets
think
traded
he's
to the
no good.
Rams.
That's if I was the Rams, a team like the Rams who is in no man's land, right,
Yeah,
with a
Stafford
older quarterback.
left.
yeah, if Stafford retires, I'd say you go in for a guy like Lawrence who may become available, who you don't really get a
Do you
chance to
think
often, you know, who
the
has a
Goff
lot of potential.
do a Goff Stafford like trade
Yeah.
Stafford for him? Yeah,
Well,
well that won't
if I
work.
was, yeah, if
But
I was
a lot
Stafford,
of first round picks will work though.
yeah, if I was Stafford, I'd rather retire than get sent to Jacksonville.
Oh yeah,
But
no doubt.
but and Lawrence, he has all the talent in the world, but he's had different offensive coordinators every year. It seems like, and no talent around him. It seems like, and he's been set up for failure. And so I think getting out of Jacksonville might be the best option for him, anyways.
Well, he's gotten a bad rap. People say that he doesn't love football. He likes it, but he doesn't have that love for it. And they always say, if you're gonna be a football player, you got to love what you're doing because it'll show in the details if you don't. And
Especially at quarterback.
yeah, especially a quarterback. So fair or not, that's what people are saying about him.
Well, I feel like you also look at it if you're losing ball games and you're playing for an organization like the Jaguars. I mean, that could probably kill your love for the game. You know what I mean?
Well, they did have some success with Doug Peterson early.
Yeah.
And he's had a
Uh,
couple successful seasons, but just didn't end well.
yeah, they've always been
Injuries or
early.
whatever. He's been injured a lot.
Yeah, and but also his success with the Eagles too, was also very early, and then it also fell apart, and he got fired there.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. I think playing for a team like Jacksonville or like the organization around you can do a lot for that. I mean, you look at the Browns. I think not only have they not had good talent around quarterbacks, but I mean, playing somewhere like Cleveland, and if you're not winning, I think it could be easy to lose your love for a game when you're getting beat up all the time and you're losing. I mean, even Baker couldn't turn that franchise around. They didn't let him, but
Yeah.
I think playing an organization
Baker,
like that will do it.
Baker actually uh, came out and said that when his little time that he was with the Rams, they gave him back his love for football,
Yeah, McVay did.
being around a good team. In fact, not
Yeah,
just him, but Odell Beckham Jr. said the same thing.
yeah,
That he lost his love for football, and he went to the Rams. He found out what it was like to have fun playing football again.
and that's what the right organization will do. I mean,
Yeah,
Baker and Sam Darnold are both in Carolina, and look what happened to them. They, Sam Darnold was kicking ass this year for Minnesota, and all of a sudden he's one of the best. He looks like the fire's back. You know what I mean? Like he looks
yep,
happy again. And that's what it is. I think more oftentimes than not, it's like when you're in a place where things aren't being ran the right way, it's like, why do you want to go to work for those guys, And when there's no shot of it getting better because of the way things are ran, it can be very hopeless.
yeah, but you still got to be a professional.
Yeah.
You got to do
Oh
your
yeah.
job.
And I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence hasn't tried,
No, I don't
but
know either.
yeah. But I'm saying though is like it can get easy to get lost in that, and maybe a lot more quarterbacks aren't having the success because of that, more than it's given thought to.
Yeah,
I think Kevin O'Connell said it best. I think we said it last time too. He said that organizations fail young quarterbacks way more often than young quarterbacks fail organizations,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Lawrence could be an example of that.
You got to make an offense that fits your quarterback. I mean, you can't just it's my way or the highway. It's got to be a two-way street between quarterback and offensive coordinator and coach.
Yeah, and the thing with Lawrence too, he has all the potential in the world. I mean, the guy's been the number one quarterback prospect since high school. Since like his
Yeah,
sophomore year of high school, he was number one in the country, all the way to Clemson, won a national championship, number one pick. Like this guy has been the top guy coming out. Like he was the golden boy since high school. And so going to Jacksonville, it's been a weird turn of events, and I think people are starting to give up on him a little bit. But I think in the right team, Lawrence
give him
could
a
be
good
one of the
coach.
best.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he could be one of the best. So this Liam Cohen thing could either be really good or really bad.
Yeah, we're gonna find out just how much Trevor Lawrence really has because
Yep.
of what Johnny Man, not Johnny Manziel. I keep thinking Baker has done. for the Bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, career year, and Liam Cohen wasn't there last year. I don't know who it was,
No, Liam
but
Cohen, I think, was there the last 2 years.
I don't think so because their whole offense was way different this year. I don't
No,
think Bucky Irving made that much change.
no, I'm pretty sure this is Liam Cohen's second year there. Yeah, because right when Baker got there, that's one of the big reasons why he was happy to go there in the first place. Let's see. So we can pull this up at. Oh, I guess yeah. This last year with the Rams in 22,
Offense.
Kentucky in
Change that
Kentucky
whole
in
offense around.
2023. Yeah, and then Tampa Bay in 20. So that's even crazier to think that he was offense coordinator for 1 year in the NFL. And all of a sudden, everyone's trying to.
And McVay got rid of him. And then he comes
Yeah,
back, he has a really good year. Now all of a sudden he's a coach.
yeah.
That's how desperate people are to get an
That's
offensive cord. Anything.
that's what.
Anybody that can coach offense
And you
if
can
you got a
always
good young quarterback.
Yeah, and you can always tell by the certain teams that are really pursuing these guys. It's always the same teams, like the
Yep.
Jaguars, like the Jets. You know what I mean? Teams like this that are like so desperate they'll grab whatever they can find. It's like
And the
sometimes it's
Bears,
like, what are you
hey,
doing?
the Bears the same way.
Yeah,
Now
luckily
they
the Bears.
finally got somebody
Yeah,
good.
and luckily the Bears finally. Everyone can agree that the Bears finally made the right decision. Sometimes you get lucky. I think this one, everyone is telling the Bears though, like you can't screw this one up. I think
Yeah,
everyone knew Ben Johnson. If there's one destination he should go to be set up for success, it'd be Chicago.
because he's got
They're
a
not,
defense already.
yeah,
He's got a good
and
defense.
like as bad as their record was, they are not that far from being like one of the best. They have so much talent on that team.
When they beat the
Jacksonville, not so
Rams,
much.
they were 4-2.
Yeah,
They were 4-2 at one time. Won one more game all
yeah.
year after
And
that.
Ben Johnson did say he said staying in the division because he likes to beat Matt LaFleur twice a year. Already starting it. Already stirring the pot.
That was for twice a year too, but Rams
Yeah.
can't beat him even once.
Well, one last coaching, because also, yeah, Aaron Glenn, defense coordinator of the Lions, now head coach of the Jets, used to play
Yeah,
there. That'll be interesting. A lot of questions going on with the Jets, especially with Rodgers. Rumors that Garrett Wilson's going to leave if Rodgers stays. I think Rodgers probably be best fit for Pittsburgh, but we'll get into that more in the offseason.
yeah.
Uh,
I think
that
he's the
would be,
best fit for Pittsburgh too.
yeah. And so, questions there about their future. A lot of free agency decisions.
Yeah,
And then you got Robert Saleh, who said again the Jaguars job and everywhere else, and the Cowboys job. I think he got interviewed for. Everyone's worst nightmare. He goes back to the Niners to be their D coordinator, which we all saw coming, where he was
wow.
where he was at his best and all
Yeah.
smiles. And
Well,
I
good
just
thing
talked about
they got a lot of aging defense though. They got an aging
yeah,
defense.
but they were at their best with him. And I'll tell you what, I was telling someone this the other day. What really disappointed me was Saleh. The reason he got that New York job, right? Remember when Saleh was the D coordinator of the Niners? He was
Yeah,
always on TV, right? He was always on the screen. What was he always doing?
rah guy, man.
Always, right?
All
Always smiling, celebrating with the guys, high fives everywhere. But
he
when he
goes to
went to
the
the Jets,
Jets.
the reason he got the job, right, was because of his energy. But when he got to the Jets, he hasn't smiled since Rodgers got hurt that night on 9/11,
Well,
on that Monday
when
night
you're
game.
watching the Jets, you don't usually smile very much.
Yeah. But did you notice that though? He has not smiled in years.
They kept showing him too on the sidelines,
Yeah.
and he's not the same guy. He didn't have that energy like he did.
Yeah. And I don't know if he realized, like, if he thought he had to be something different now that he's a head coach, had to be more serious. But it makes you think, like, dude, that's why you got that job. It's because of who
Exactly.
you were. Why would you
Yep.
change? So I don't know. I think going back to the Niners though will help him learn a lot, and I think he'll get another head coaching opportunity. But I think this is the best thing for him. I think it's the best thing for the Niners. Scary for the rest of the NFL, in my opinion. But I think personally for him, and I'm rooting for him because the way the Jets handled everything. Um, I'm not rooting for him with the Niners, but I hope he finds success somewhere else. But one last coaching hire to talk about before we go, because this has gone pretty long. But Tom Brady now with the Raiders,
Oh,
uh,
forgot
I
about
think was
that one.
such a great decision. Now with the Raiders hire, every coach in the AFC West has won a Super Bowl. With the hiring of Pete Carroll, who said that Tom had him at hello. I love it.
And you know, he wanted Vrabel. That Vrabel was his guy. But
He called
I
Belichick
knew
first.
all along Vrabel was going to
Oh
New
yeah,
England. That's
yeah.
another one we haven't
Everyone
talked
knew that.
about.
Yeah. Oh
Vrabel's
yeah.
the perfect fit for New England.
And I think we all knew though that that was going to happen. Once Mayo was
Yeah.
gone, I think everybody knew because I think his conversations behind for weeks that had rumored, like everyone knew. Poor Mayo had to probably hear the rumors while he was still coach, but everyone
Well,
knew Vrabel was going to be the guy.
that's the reason Mayo got fired, so they could get Vrabel.
Exactly.
Hadn't been available, I guarantee you, Mayo would have stayed for another year and let him learn.
Yeah.
But they couldn't take a chance on missing out on Vrabel now
Yeah.
that he was available.
Yeah.
And it
And they
sucked
got
for Mayo, you know. But
Yeah. And they got McDaniels now coaching their offense again, which this is like a younger Belichick with more energy coaching these guys. I think New England made a great decision. I mean, it sucks that Mayo had to go out like that. I don't think it's right to ever just give a guy 1 year and just boot him.
yeah,
But especially if the whole reason you got him was to take your time with him in this franchise, they did him really dirty. But as far as the decision for Vrabel, they should have hired him in the first place.
okay. Now they got an offense coordinator. They got a good coach. Now they need to find some players because their players suck. Just gonna say it like that. They've had some. They drafted some wide, wide receivers high in the draft, and none of them have worked out for some reason.
Mm-mm.
Maybe McDaniels helps them, but they don't have an offensive line. Their defense is not very good, but a lot better than their offense. So if they can get some good linemen, give them a line, give Drake May a line, and those young wide receivers finally uh, hit their stride, they could be an interesting team.
They have not, because I think Keyshawn Booty had a really good year for him. I mean, but it's a bunch of like no name guys who are like good here and there, but never like great or never have a consistent good season. And the thing is, that's why Brady left his last year. Do you
Yeah,
remember
receivers.
his last year? He had no receive. I mean, Edelman was hurt. He's at the end of his career, but they had nobody. Gronk was retired, and so that was everyone knew they didn't have a shot even with Brady. Brady had
Yeah,
to get out of there because they were going to be stuck without with like in a rebuild mode. And you know who gave Brady his last loss in New England? Do you
who?
remember who they went out to?
Uh, the Bucks.
No, it was Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, that's right. Knocked them
Yep,
out of the playoffs, huh?
yep,
That's
yep,
when Tennessee went to the AFC Championship
yep.
with none other than what was their quarterback?
Tannehill.
Tannehill. Yep.
So yeah,
That was
that
it wasn't that they weren't good after that, you know. And then giving up on that running back, Derrick Henry. Thought he was too old, didn't want to give him the money. Speaking of that, how much better would the Cowboys have been if they gave him an extra million or two to Derrick Henry instead of trying to be so cheap?
yeah. I don't know
2
if
They had him. It would have been so much better. They didn't have a
yeah.
running game. When you got
Well,
Ezekiel Elliott still running for you, what does that tell
yeah,
you? As your backup
yeah.
running back.
But I don't know if it would have changed much this year if all the injuries. But if they were healthy and they had Derrick Henry, yeah, they'd be probably Super Bowl contenders this year.
I mean, their
They would have had a
defense
shot.
wasn't that good, but that's because Parsons was out. When he came
Yeah,
back, that defense got fairly
yeah.
decent. You know,
So
they
yeah,
weren't bad.
if they were healthy and had Derrick Henry, yeah, they'd be Super Bowl contenders. Yeah, I talk about
Yeah,
that every week with
yeah,
about Jerry Jones, prime example, him being cheap.
yeah.
But let's get back to wrap this up with Brady and Pete Carroll, the Super Bowl
Yeah,
winning coach, going to Raiders. I mean, Antonio Pierce, I think, in my opinion, it was he was a great rah-rah guy, great motivational guy, kind of like Dan Campbell, kind of building the culture in a sense, but I didn't see him as like a schematic guy that was gonna win you ball games against, some of
yeah,
the best consistently. And they didn't have a
yeah,
quarterback.
yeah. And the Raiders, they all the fans are mad because they weren't winning. So he wins a couple games at the end of the year. Cost them 3 or 4 draft spots in the draft. So they
Yep.
won't be able to get a quarterback now.
Yep.
Not the top
But
two anyway. They were good. They had the number one pick till he won those last 2 games. He's like,
yep.
I'm always going to try to win. And his team, well, they want to win. You can't blame them.
Yep.
But it did cost them. I think they're picking fifth now instead of first.
They're picking sixth.
Are they picking sixth? Ooh, that's even
Yeah.
worse. Oh
Yep.
shit!
But I gotta say though, if you want to get a coach, I don't care how old he is, but if you want a good coach to set the tone and set the culture, someone who knows how to win and who is one of the best at it, Pete Carroll is your guy.
He's
The,
still a raw guy, man.
oh yeah, people can talk all they want about his age. That guy does not look his age. I could hear him talk about him on the broadcast all day about how young he looks because he's out there, he's active, he's involved with everybody. But one of the best head coaches, scheming up as well, also motivating his players. Everybody's loved Pete Carroll. Anybody that's played for him loves him. And the only people that wouldn't have liked him is if you've played in his division against him. But other than that, you can't help but respect Pete Carroll. And I think I'm so happy for that guy to get another
He's won everywhere he
another
went.
job.
Even with the
Yep.
Jets, he won.
Yep. He's won a national championship too. Like the guy is a winner.
I think he won
He's
a
a
couple of them.
yeah, he's a class act. I think Sean McVay even said the NFL is better when Pete Carroll's in it, and he's
Yep,
right. Like Pete Carroll, I'm so happy that he got another job after the way things ended in Seattle. And I think if you're a struggling organization, those are the coaches that they're gems right there. If you can get them to reset the culture, and I mean, look what he did with Seattle when they were in the dumps. He took a team that was in the same category as the Jaguars or Raiders, you know, just always making bad decisions, never could win, and he turned them into Super Bowl contenders. And it may not be this year, but in no time, I think Pete Carroll's going to really set the culture here. So,
yep. Gave him a 3-year contract and an option for the fourth year. So
yep. So Brady, 1 for 1 in big time decisions. I love it. Cool that he beat Pete Carroll in the Super Bowl, and
well,
but
who's
he knows,
but
but
who's
he
their
knows how good Pete Carroll is. So he's
who
helping in that decision to get him.
who they hired in the general manager? See, they fired the other one too.
Um, I don't know
I
if
don't
they,
pick one yet
I don't know if they have.
because they're waiting. I think they're waiting for Pete Carroll to help choose his own general manager. I think.
Oh, it looks like John Spytek, John Spidik. I don't know. I've never heard of him.
Hmm. I haven't either.
Let's see.
Well, Brady
Oh,
must
he
know
was
what he's doing.
he was the assistant GM in Tampa Bay
Okay.
and is well liked. And obviously Brady was there in Tampa Bay, so he must know a lot about him.
Yeah.
And he looks like an up and comer though. It's getting an opportunity. This might be a gem as well. I like this what the Raiders are doing. I like this a lot because Brady's making the right decisions up top. Helping. They're obviously leaning on him a lot to make
Now,
these
now
decisions.
let's see how they do in the draft because they haven't
Exactly.
done very. They got Brock Bowers though. They did get
Yeah.
him. I'm
Yeah.
glad they got him instead of McVay. We got
Yeah.
Jared Verse.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't go wrong with either. But
Hitter and a
I
offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year.
well, Jaden Daniels probably's got the offensive one. But but
Maybe, yeah.
but what I'm saying though is they're counting on Brady a lot to make these big decisions that obviously they haven't been able to do well. Mark Davis hasn't at all. And so they're leaning on Brady for his insight. And so far he's 2 for 2. I really like those decisions. But now the biggest one they want him for is to find a quarterback. So we'll see what they do there.
That's kind of a conflict of interest, though. Uh, they were talking about that too before the season started, about him announcing and being a owner. They don't know if they're going to let him do it full time. I mean, he did this year, but I don't know how much longer they'll let him do it, because that is kind of a conflict of interest.
Yeah. But they've
I
been
mean,
really
how can you do both good?
because they've completely cut him off from doing pregame interviews or going into practices with
Yeah,
other teams and
that's
interviewing
what they
players and
did.
coaches.
They can't interview players before the
Yeah,
game.
he can't be involved with any of that process, which actually limits his job a lot. So it's kind of
Yeah,
like it's like kind of like pick one or the other because I
I,
mean
li- I
he's
liked
limited
him.
so much as a commentator
I
now.
liked him as an announcer, though.
Yeah, I like him too.
Smart, yeah.
I think people are overreacting, just want to see Brady lose, but
That's the most I ever seen him smile. I
yeah,
never seen him smile that much. The guy was
but
always, every time they had his close up, man, he had a big old grin.
yeah, but if there's anything with Brady though, it's like you can hit on him all you want, but
Yeah,
even if he sucks at broadcasting, there's one
he'll
thing you know about Brady. Yeah,
oh,
he's gonna
he'll
be
put the
obsessed
work
with
in to
getting
get better,
better.
though. He will.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm excited to see though what because a lot of the Raiders' decisions I've never agreed with, but I think they're making some good ones now. So there's some hope there. Maybe not Jacksonville, we'll see. Maybe not the
But
Cowboys, we'll see. But
I think I saw something that said they've had 10 head coaches in the last 22 years. Yeah,
yep,
you're not going to get much better if you keep changing coaches every year. Or
yep,
did I say coaches? Yeah, 10
yep,
they've had 10 coaches in the last 22 years. That's
yep,
amazing. That's a great record. Not one you really want, but it's a good
yeah.
it's a record.
Well, yeah. Well, with all that being said, I'm glad we could end it with a positive note. Finally, a bad team making better decisions, making the right ones to get better.
Yeah.
So we'll end it there. And with a very exciting championship weekend to come, some really good games set for tomorrow, January 26th. But yeah, it's going to be a good one.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Yep. But yep. Thanks for coming, Pops.
Son,
I'll see you next week talking about Super Bowl Sunday.